Welcome, wizards and witches, to another episode of the Wired Sisters. Tonight, it's my favorite topic. As you can tell from my t-shirt, from the handsome fella in the background, from the little handsome fella on my table, we are here to talk about the Malfoys. My name is Jennifer. This is Hilde. Let's get started.
Take it away.
Take it away. So obviously, when we discussed that this episode was going to be about Malfoys, I had to make a list, as I always do. But the thing is,
are mandatory.
That it's going to be about Malfoy supremacy, like why the Malfoys are the best. And I love the Malfoys, but I couldn't come up.
I just have two words to support your theory.
Mm-hmm.
Scorpius Malfoy.
Ah, yes.
Also, Magic 8 Ball. Will we actually manage to stick around 30 to 35 minutes this time? Looks like yes. There you go.
Okay.
Magic 8 Ball has spoken.
Okay, we will stick to 35 minutes, even though it's about the Malfoys. We will try.
We'll probably fail, because the Magic 8 Ball is notoriously rubbish, but...
Okay, so... I love the Malfoys, but I can't defend their actions. Like, basically, with the exception of, like, Scorpius and maybe Narcissa sometimes, they are a bunch of a-holes.
It's true.
They are. Like, you can't really, especially Lucius, you can't really, I mean, as much as I love him, he's an a-hole. But that makes my list even better, because I decided to, instead of saying that the Malfoys are superior, I made a list called Why Draco is Superior. Because we all know that he is, apart from Scorpius, the shining star of the Malfoys.
Well, the thing is, he did father Scorpius, and Scorpius is like a decent human being, so surely he must, do something.
True.
I mean, either that or Astoria just like walked around him behind him with a pool noodle and just whacked him on a regular basis. But
I think that's up to Astoria, actually, because we know from canon that Narcissa didn't like Astoria because of her non-pureblood views.
Yeah, she's a pureblood, but not a pureblood supremacist.
Exactly. So probably she was a better mother. I mean, Draco, he was probably fine.
But that said, have you ever seen The Sisters of House Black? It's a fan film, but
yes.
I mean, it's not like they actually stood a chance. I mean, it's like seriously drilled into them, and the second they like throw out of line, it's the same with Sirius's mom. They get thrown out of the family. And I mean, like, I would absolutely recommend everybody watch The Sisters of House Black, because it really, even though it's a fan film and not actually canon, I feel like they really hit the nail on the proverbial head, and you really get a very good insight, especially in Bellatrix.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone just watch that. There are a lot of fan-made movies on YouTube that you can see, and some of them are really, really great. That is one of them.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, see them. Okay, so obviously the Black family is superior as well. Like we have, I know all of them. We have Sirius and Regulus, who
I have Sirius's wand.
Oh, you do? That's a really nice wand.
It was just there, convenient.
Like he was talented. He was a great wizard when he applied himself. Like, obviously, he was a bit like slacking.
Okay, but Draco is as well, because he gets into all the advanced classes.
Yeah, that is on my list. Yeah, for sure. But Regulus as well, because he was turned into a Death Eater when he was 16, and apart from Draco, who was accidentally turned into a Death Eater because Voldy wanted to punish Lucius, Regulus actually wanted to join, and Voldy let him join him when he was only 16. So that has to prove that he has some kind of like great power.
Yeah, or at least potential of being a good minion.
But I think he had Bellatrix for that, because she wasn't like great at anything. She was just a good dog.
Yeah, but of course, if you wanted eyes and ears into Hogwarts that were not Snape, it would be practical to have Draco.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my list. Okay.
Get on with the list.
Okay, number 1 on my list is that Draco isn't evil. Like, hear me out. He did some shitty things. I'll give you that. Like, he has a long list of things that he did that was bad. But at the core, and we're talking about his wand here, he isn't really evil because his wand is made from the core is unicorn hair. And unicorn hair, this is from Google, I'm just gonna say. It's the most difficult to turn to the dark arts. So he really resisted, like he didn't believe in any of that, which is also why he didn't raise Scorpius into those beliefs. He's a good person. And also the wood that the wand is made of is hawthorn, which is used by a wizard of proven talent. Meaning he is really, he's a skilled wizard. Because also the unicorn hair, they do not make powerful wands unless the wood complements it.
So they need the right casing, so to speak, to have punch behind it.
Yeah, exactly. But this wood doesn't complement the unicorn hair.
Yeah.
Like it can only be used by powerful wizards, which means that Draco is the reason why this one works so well. That was number 1. And while we're on the subject of wands, I also have Mr. Lucius' wand, which is made from elm wood. And I'm gonna turn. Elm wood is for sophisticated ones, which we all know Mr. Malfoy is a very sophisticated man.
Especially when you see it in the walking cane.
Yeah, this is just the wish version. But anyway, it's capable of advanced magic in the right hands, which makes it very desirable for pureblood wizards who like to think that they are better than everyone else.
But wasn't Lucius a prefect?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you have to, have some kind of power level to even be considered as a prefect. So there's that.
Probably that or money. I mean,
okay, so in Lucius's case, it was kind of hard to see which one it was.
Yeah. But Lucius's core, unlike Draco's, is made from dragon heartstring, and that tends to be the easiest drawn to the dark arts. It doesn't explain, it doesn't justify why he's an a-hole, but it explains a little bit.
Well, Hermione's is also dragon heartstring, and she's
That's
not
true.
evil.
Yeah. Okay, so it's just Lucius is an a-hole. That's the conclusion. Okay, Narcissus one. We don't know the core, unfortunately, but we do know that
we're guessing Phoenix Feather because J.K. Rowling has a tendency of making neat trios.
Yeah, we're just guessing, but probably. But we know that the wood is elm wood, just like Lucius's.
Yes, so, because this book here, by Insight Editions, which is a bit rubbish, has clearly stated that her wand is the same wood as Lucius's.
And it makes sense, because it's also like for sophisticated witches and wizards, and she was very sophisticated.
Very sophisticated. She was a classy lady.
Yeah, but didn't Harry describe her as always walking around like she had smelled the dung? Because she's always having her nose up and pretending to be better than everyone else.
Or maybe Lucius just wore a really stinky perfume.
But he wasn't there.
Hey, a lot of these really high-end, super expensive perfumes stink, okay?
Fine. Okay, so it was Lucius's fault. It was like constantly there for her. She couldn't escape it. That's why she looked. Okay, so we've established that Draco has a good person wand, a powerful one, and Lucius has a bad person wand. Cool. Okay, so speaking of Draco's skills, he learned occlumency.
Yeah.
Which is very, very hard. I mean, Harry tried, he failed,
and
not only did Draco learn it, he was also so good that not even Snape, who is a very skilled I can't say it.
Legilimens.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So even he couldn't penetrate.
He couldn't read Draco's thoughts. He couldn't telepathy Draco.
Yeah. So that obviously requires a lot of skill.
For sure.
For sure. He also fixed the vanishing cabinet on his own. Like, it took maybe 9 months, but he did it alone.
He had like no instructions whatsoever, and it didn't have like a Google,
No,
he had no YouTube tutorials like the rest of us.
Exactly. He was 16 and he figured it out by himself.
Yeah. And he managed to get into the room of requirement to do so, which is also not easy.
That's true, but I mean, he probably figured it out from how the Dumbledore's army used it. I don't know.
Yeah, but
speaking of Dumbledore's army, obviously Hermione she enchanted the coins.
Yeah.
To signal. And Draco did the same. So he copied that in the next year. He used that same spell. It's called the Protean charm.
Yeah, but did he though? Because there's like pages in the books where he had basically used Polyjuice potion, which I'm assuming he brew or made Snape do it for him, but I'm assuming he did it because he's in advanced potions, so he has the skill. And he polymorphed like Goyle and Crabbe into like little girls, and they'd stand there looking at stuff, holding like heavy objects, and if somebody was like approaching, they'd like drop them.
Yeah,
and the sound would alert Draco.
Yeah.
So I mean, he comes up with clever ruses.
He's a smart fella, little Draco here.
It takes the Golden Trio a lot of time to figure that one out. So,
yeah.
Expert scheming.
But this charm that he and Hermione used, it's described by Terry Boots in Order of the Phoenix as a Newt standard spell. So it's very advanced. And Hermione does it when she's even younger, but Draco copies it and he learns it by himself.
But there's just not to say that Draco couldn't have done it at the same age of Hermione. True. It's not because he didn't that he couldn't.
Yeah. So I like to read those fan fiction when like Draco and Hermione are like battling about who's number one in the class, because I think that Draco is probably like almost Hermione level smart, but he doesn't really get the credit for it.
Yeah, isn't there like a fanfic? Yeah, no, it's a thing in the Quibbler Cat. I think Valentine wrote it in I think it's in the All-Seeing Eye Advice in the second one, where one of them is like writing for advice from Trelawney, going like, "Oh, he's not letting us cheat. He's not letting us like copy off his homework and his tests, and we're gonna fail." And she's like, "Oh, maybe you should be like clever in doing it."
Yeah. So he's in all the advanced classes, because we know from Half-Blood Prince that Snape only allows Newt students who has outstanding in their grade, and obviously that Harry wasn't one of them. Slughorn
he only got it because Slughorn has lower standards.
Yeah, he just wanted Harry to join.
No. Slughorn literally accepts. You have to be outstanding to get into Snape's class, but you have to be the level under outstanding to get into Slughorn's. Yeah. So Harry only got in because he's not outstanding, but he's still good enough.
Yeah.
Exceeding expectations, I think the next one is.
Draco was
outstanding at potions, just like Hermione, and there's like one Hufflepuff who makes the advanced potions, and I think he had outstanding as well, but I'm not sure. Ernie Macmillan? Is it Ernie?
That's unexpected, but okay.
There's one Hufflepuff in the class, but I can't remember which one. But whatever, we're not talking about that guy.
So we're talking about the Prince of Slytherin.
The Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, so obviously he was smart. But also in the second movie, in Chamber of Secrets, he summons that snake when he and Harry is dueling.
Yeah.
And it isn't clear if Snape was whispering the spell or if he already knew it. But either way, seems like a pretty advanced spell to make when you're 12.
But doesn't
I
he
can't
do it
imagine
in the
that being
books as
something
well?
that they're taught. Sorry?
I haven't read Chamber in a while, but I think he does it in the books as well. And if he does it in the books, it's definitely on his own.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
So obviously advanced. Plus he does it like under pressure when the whole class is standing there and he's like, Snake.
Yeah.
So we know he performs well under pressure. Just saying.
This is true. This is true.
This is true.
This is not an excuse for you to look up that kind of fanfic, people.
It is. You have my blessing. Okay.
Yeah, but you were like sniggering, and I was like, people that are actually watching instead of listening are going to go, no, I shall nip that one in the proverbial bum.
But maybe he also learned those spells from like Lucius, because I'm going to assume that he was trained in magic before he went to Hogwarts, as well as like during the summers. I know they're not allowed to, but there's no way for the ministry to actually know that. So I'm willing to bet this Draco that he was learning magic in the summers, because why wouldn't he?
Yeah, obviously. But the thing is, like, up to the point they go to Hogwarts, they can basically get away with magic because they assume that young wizards don't control their magic and will just do, like, magical shit on, like, without any control. So if he was being actively taught magic, it wouldn't have been an issue. And also, like you said, over the summer, it has been stated in canon, in the books, I believe, that basically, unless you're a mudblood or living with muggle parents or guardians, they just know there's been magic in this house.
Yeah.
I don't know who's doing it. So he can use all the magic he wants because he's always accompanied by magical people who are not under the trace. So he can do whatever he damn well pleases. Whereas Harry, of course, is screwed because he's surrounded by all the muggles. Literally.
That feels unfair to like everyone who. It's an advantage for purebloods, obviously.
Yeah, or just half-bloods who have one magical parent and potentially magical siblings as well.
But then, I mean, it could be their parent that does it, the magical parent.
That's what I mean. So it's basically the screw mudbloods, Muggleborns.
I'm guessing it was dear old Salazar who came up with that rule.
And the ministry, who is also not terribly Muggleborn friendly. Let's be fair about that.
Old rules, probably, but still not cool.
Betcha Hermione did away with those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, how did she survive an entire summer without? Oh, because she was at Ron's. That's why.
Yeah, she was always at Ron's. She's like, "Oh, Mom, Dad, I'm going to Ron's where I can do magic."
Yeah, now we know why. It wasn't because she loved Ron. It was because she loved magic.
Mystery solved.
Yeah.
For all your wizarding mystery solving, the Wired Sisters.
Yeah. So, back to Draco's skills. We also know that he performed, it's called the Forbidden Curses, no? Is that the name for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Forbidden Curses. We know he did
the Unforgivable.
Unforgivable curses.
But they are forbidden, so.
Yeah, they are forbidden. So he did the Imperious Charm on Madame Rosmerta.
Yes.
And she was under it for a long time. So that's quite advanced.
Yeah,
and he also tried to do the Cruciatus curse. I don't remember if he ever did it, but I think he didn't do it because he was blocked. Not because he couldn't do it, but because someone did Protego or whatever.
I know that Harry in the movie tries to do the Cruciatus curse on Bellatrix, but he just lacks the power behind it. Or the conviction, either way.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Draco did it, or at least like attempted to do it, but couldn't because someone blocked it.
Yeah, for sure he did Imperius, that we know.
Yeah, that we know. And for a long time, so obviously.
I mean, and if, let's face it, who is it that sets Fiendfire to the Room of Requirement, either Crabbe or Goyle, I can't remember which one, but if those dimwits know how to do it, you can bet on it that Draco knows how to do it.
For sure, yeah. But I also, like, how did they even do it? Because obviously Draco didn't even know they could read. I know that's just a movie. But like, how did they learn it? Did they learn it during the summer as well?
It was in school. It was taught because Defense Against the Dark Arts in that year was just a dark arts, and the Caro responsible for the class taught them Fiendfire, but not how to extinguish Fiendfire because logic.
Imagine like a bunch of kids in school trying to do it and then just setting up.
Well, that's nearly what happened.
Yes.
So
yeah, okay, so it was the Caros who taught them probably.
Voldemort was like, they dumb, just go to Hogwarts. You dumb, go to Hogwarts.
It wasn't Crabbe and Goyle's parents, like their fathers at least, they were Death Eaters, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, both of them. But
they produced dumb sons. Or maybe they were dumb too, I don't know.
Inbreeding.
But Draco's inbred too.
He wasn't quite as inbred because there's black in there and the strange, and also they're also related somewhere to Molly Weasley, who is a Pruitt, exactly. So there was more than just like first cousins involved.
Yeah, all purebloods are like related somehow.
Yeah, but the question is, how related are they?
It's gonna be a slim choice.
Yeah. I still maintain that I don't understand why they just didn't go and marry from abroad,
I know. That's so weird. We could get a little French pureblood, that would be nice. Maybe they just didn't want to, maybe they just wanted to be sure, so they just went from the same list. The Sacred 28 is just the UK families. That's it's like a seal of approval. It's good.
Maybe other countries have like different definitions of purebloods.
Maybe.
Like, imagine that there's a country who says like purebloods mean that you have two magical parents. Regardless of the blood status of your magical parents, they could both be Muggle-born for all we care. Yeah. But they're both wizards. Ergo, you are a pureblood, and a half-blood is just like one of your parents is a wizard, and then Muggle-born is just literally a Muggle-born.
Yeah. So if they have different standards, then
yeah, I can imagine that they'd be like, they might be like Muggle-born grandparents.
Contrast that. No,
yeah,
better
so
if
that were happening, then I can. Sort of. I mean, like, I know I don't understand the supremacists at all. I mean, it does not compute, but following that very flawed logic, it would explain why they're within the Sacred 28, but still, ew.
Yeah, well, at least, like, I mean, Sirius's mother married her cousin.
Yeah, first cousin, no less.
First cousin. She didn't even have to change her name.
Black and black, what a wedding. There was no darker day. See, this is why the Weasleys are so, like, open-minded, and the Potters as well. They're like, we desperately need fresh blood, or we're gonna get dumb children.
Just look at Crabbe and Goyle, we don't want that.
Yeah, they probably did look at Crabbe and Goyle and went, yikes!
Yeah.
You want to marry a Muggle-born? Go ahead, we don't care. Fresh blood, actual fresh blood, yes.
We're just unraveling all the mysteries now. Now we know why the Weasleys are pro-Muggles. They looked at Crabbe and Goyle and were like, no, ain't doing that.
First cousins. Just no. But back to the Malfoys.
Back to the Malfoys. Okay. So actually, that is that is all on my Draco list, but I do have some stuff about Narcissa as well. I couldn't really find anything nice to say about Lucius other than his good looks, and that he's in the books.
Lucius got style.
He's got style. He's got that beautiful little bow in his hair in Chamber of Secrets. But in the books, he seems to be a good father to Draco, at least. In the films, Jason Isaacs said that he took a look at Draco and he was like, okay, I gotta make people understand why he's such a little kid. So I'm gonna bully him. But he isn't like that in the books. He's a loving father who listens to his son, probably sits and have tea and chats and,
One of my favorite fan comics is literally Lucius and Draco going, "Father, did you know what Potter did?" And Lucius is like, "No, tell me." And they're like sitting there, like you described, sipping tea. And Draco is like telling him all about it. And he's like attentively listening.
Oh, I want to read that so badly.
If I ever find it again on the gram, I will share it with you.
I'm pretty sure Lucius has one of these frames, like a photo of his loving son.
Yeah, I mean, Lucius is just an asshole, and he might be a loving father, but he, at the same time, I mean, I think we talked about this in like our first episode. You can be an absolute racist, bigot, horrible person as like on the humanity scale, but at the same time still be a loving parent to your children. You will just not actually imprint any decent values on them, which will in turn make your children the same kind of horrible bigot, but
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, the fact that he's a loving father doesn't really excuse his otherwise shitty behavior. Plus, he also, like, makes his son join him in these horrible events. So, he's not on my good list, even though he's good looking, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of villain you love to hate. And it's just fun to be, like, on the side of the bad guy, but not really. Because it's just, like, a fun, silly fandom thing and not ever a real-life kind of thing.
But I'm pretty sure that if the guy who played Lucius and the guy who played Draco weren't attractive, no one would have liked them.
I think, that's been said a few times, hasn't it?
I mean, you look at these people and you're like, okay, I love you. But if you just look at the characters, you're like,
no. I mean, Cursed Child Draco is somewhat better.
Decent.
Yeah, he's... A story has really, like, made him see the error of his ways, and he just doesn't really know how to get around to it, like, saying, like, I'm sorry I was an asshole, and he kind of does in the end. So, because he gets to adventure with the Golden Trio in the end.
Yeah.
So, he is redeemable, whereas Lucius is just a hopeless case.
But I think that if Draco had actually become friends with, like, the Golden Trio or Harry at Hogwarts, if he hadn't, like, rejected his hand,
or at least just they tried to see, eye to eye a little bit.
I think Draco would have been a much better person. Like, he could have been.
Yeah. The problem is also, like, that's one of the theories that Dumbledore just did not want Harry to get into Slytherin.
Yeah.
Slytherin, the problem is that most of the pureblood family children end up in Slytherin. So they're constantly trapped in that same vicious cycle. And if they were, like, forced to actually be around more different-minded children, if Hogwarts were more like a regular high school and not so house-centric, I think a lot of these children would be way better off.
Yeah. Those pureblood children they need to be exposed to other people.
Yeah, but not just them. I mean, the Marauders, for one.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a bunch of shits.
But I still love them.
Yeah, but I mean, up to like 6th or 7th year, they were a bunch of shits because they were all in Gryffindor and constantly exposed to Gryffindor. So I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? They're all so exposed to their own thing. They just never get out of that mentality.
But doesn't the French school? They also have the American school. They also have these houses. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Durmstrang has. I don't know if Beauxbaton has.
Yeah, Beauxbaton has like fandom houses, but
okay.
It's never been mentioned that they actually have houses, I think. And I believe that it's actually a thing in English schools.
Yeah, it
some
is.
English schools, but
it's not Harry Potter-ish.
As far as I'm aware, another thing in French schools. It for sure isn't in Belgian schools. And I've not heard of it being a thing in other schools either. So
no, I think it's just a British.
I mean, around these corners, so to speak.
Yeah. So the house system is flawed. We can definitely say. Yeah, but okay. So back to the Malfoys, Narcissa. I spend too much time on TikTok. Like I know the fandom, the fandom version of Narcissa and the Black Sisters, but sometimes I'm confused. It's like what is real, what is fandom? But she seemed like a good person until she met Lucius.
Yeah, I think she was. I mean, especially if you watch a movie like Sisters of House Black, which is so good because they extensively researched canon. Because she was legit upset about Andromeda and Tonks's father. What was he called? Teddy? She was legit upset about it because she was so worried about losing her sister. I think she struggled on one hand the most with the family dynamic, and on the other hand the least, because she went like, oh, he's a handsome pureblood, he will do nicely, I will marry him and have pureblood children, and mommy and daddy will love me forever and ever.
Yeah, but she's smart. Like she doesn't get enough credit, but she's really smart because
she can do advanced spells.
Yeah, she's great at dueling because she dueled Harry and Ron at the same time and keep up with that. And she also learned occlumency, obviously, because she lied to Mr. Baldy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that took some balls. Like, she straight up lied to his face.
Yeah, she will do pretty much anything for her family. And I think that if push comes to shove, you should not ever underestimate Narcissa. Ever.
No, and I think Voldy did that because I don't remember the specifics, but he was an asshole to everyone, but he was an asshole to Narcissa, and like he continuously pushed her and did bad stuff to her family, which in the end led her to be like, well, screw you.
Yeah, but she was definitely keeping that score and waiting for the moment to enact revenge.
For sure.
Yeah, I think also because she never joined the Death Eaters because she was smart enough not to, knowing that if she didn't, she would have like more leeway, with the wizarding world. So she was smart enough to be on the inside and the outside at the same time.
Yeah, I think she must have been like one of the very few who was like still in the inner circle.
Yeah.
But not a Death Eater.
I think the only one.
I don't remember how it's in the books, but in the movies, she's obviously sitting around the Death Eater table.
Yeah, I can't remember that from the books either. It's been too long since I've read them.
My memory is shit, so I don't remember.
Mine is not shit, but I've not read that book since it came out, so yeah.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, wow. Okay, so I finished I listened to the books, and it took me a year and a half. I finished it in like January or something, and I still can't remember.
No, the thing is, I reread the first up to the fourth one, but I don't like how depressing the others are, so I don't.
Oh.
I mean, life is depressing enough as is. I mean, not literally,
True.
but I mean, like, there's enough. Let me rephrase that in a less dramatic way. There's enough bad things in life currently as is, so why should I read depressing books when I can read nice ones?
That is true, but I never thought anyone was going to say that Harry Potter is depressing.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, all the stuff with Umbridge doesn't exactly, like, read as joy, you know?
Unless you really love Umbridge.
Which I do not.
She's a determined woman.
She's a determined woman, yes, to be sure. I wonder if Umbridge and Voldemort have ever met.
Maybe they're like in love.
I doubt
Maybe they were. No, because she's a lot younger than he is.
Also, Voldemort has a thing for Bellatrix, so there's that.
Does he, or does Bellatrix have a thing for Voldemort?
Oh, to be sure, that way, but they did have Delphini, so there's that.
I refuse to accept that.
Oh no, I can see it happening. I mean, like,
but how?
I can see it
did it happen? Like, when?
Well, the usual way.
I don't know how. I don't mean how. I mean when.
Well, they did spend enough time together.
But like, Bellatrix was in the battle. Like, when did she? Because she died.
Well, she had her before the battle.
But when? She was in the Ministry when Sirius died. And then there's a whole year. Okay, so after
there's a whole year, yes, exactly. And also, he could have been born prematurely. Nobody ever stops to think about that one.
That's true. Okay, so there's
because Harry and Ron and Hermione are on the run for nearly an entire year before they even get caught and being brought to Malfoy Manor. And there's not actually a lot of focus on what Bellatrix is doing in that entire year. She could have had Delphini.
So there's almost 2 years when she could have had him, like the whole 6th year and almost the whole of.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Year. There's plenty of time for her to have had Delphini.
That is true. That is true. And
I mean, Draco wasn't going to waltz into school saying, "Hey, I'm an uncle," or like whatever, you know?
Oh my god, no.
I mean, like, he's not gonna waltz into school saying, "Hey, my Aunt Bellatrix had a baby with Voldemort."
While being married to
First of all, he'd probably be embarrassed to hell and back.
Yeah. True.
He'd probably be like, "Oh, heck to the no!"
I mean, I don't want to picture Voldemort doing that. But I still can't see, like, he doesn't seem very interested in that sort of activities. Like, he doesn't seem to be interested in any other.
Well, if he would show that kind of an interest, I mean, all these crazy women like Umbridge were just throwing themselves at him. He'd never get anything done. It'd be like constantly Avada Kedavraing all the people away from him. He'd be like, "I will be cold and aloof and pretend I do not care, because Bellatrix will throw herself at me as soon as this meeting is over. Anyway, so yes, fine."
I mean, I get it when he was like young. And
Lucius is probably sitting there going like,
he's just like in my reels when Lucius is like,
yeah, I mean, and Draco's like, you know? Basically, it's like in your reels. Let's move along. Yeah. Back to Draco. Oh God, we cannot stay on track today.
Technically, this was kind of
true. And she is related to the Malfoys.
Yeah.
I mean, because
exactly. You know. Okay, so I'm willing to accept that Voldemort and Bellatrix had a baby because it's time-wise possible.
And, you know, my explanation was just so much logic.
Yeah, it was. But seriously, though, I don't have anything else on my list. Like, my Draco list is done. My Narcissa list is done, and Lucius was non-existent, so...
Okay, let's talk about the only good thing about Cursed Child. Draco is not a complete asshole, and Scorpius Malfoy, who is also a Malfoy. You have seen the play, so take it away.
And he's adorable. He's so funny. Like, I watched the play in London recently. First of all, 6 hours of Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter, but 6 hours is just unacceptable. Like, that, it's too long. It's too long. But I loved Scorpius's character. He and Albus, they carried the whole show. Harry, I hated Harry. Not just for how he is in The Cursed Child, but also the actor was not good.
Yeah, I've not seen the play. I've only read the book, and I must say that basically the reason I love the story is Scorpius Malfoy, because it's just so hilarious.
Yeah,
like Albus is a whingy git, but Scorpius is just. He's a hero. Scorpius Malfoy is alive. He's my favorite Slytherin character, hands down, no contest.
He also seems to be like the nicest Slytherin. Like, I don't know how Albus ended up in Slytherin, but those two are so kind and so cute.
But it's about maybe the Sorting Hat thought, yes, finally some kindness into Slytherin. Stop. Oh, these guys are they're friends. I'm not separating them. I'm not putting you in Gryffindor like the rest of your family. We saw how that went.
Yeah. The Sorting Hat knew that Scorbus was a thing because they met on a train. And they were like,
I am not a Scorbus shipper, but I can see how it is a ship.
Are you a Scoros shipper?
I kind of vibe Scorpius and Rose, because the fact that, Ron Weasley's daughter would marry a Malfoy, Ron would have an aneurysm, and just because of that, because I can see Hermione be like, well, Scorpius is a decent human being, and he's a good guy, and as long as you're happy, but Ron would just be there apoplectic.
He would not have any of it. He would be like, no.
Apoplectic. And I'd just be like, it just amuses me.
Yeah, it does. I've read a lot of...
I don't care either way, to be honest. I mean, if tomorrow there's another book where Scorpius is literally together with Albus, that maybe J.K. Rowling thinks, my image is not good. I shall now write this actual book, and I will do it myself. And I will put Scorpius and Albus together just so I can prove I am not a dirty turf homophobe. I'd just be like, you're still a dirty turf homophobe to start with. But, I wouldn't mind. I would not be upset.
Yeah.
I would say damn time that there's an actual gay couple. None of that Dumbledore Grindelwald isn't it,
Yeah, I agree. But the American version of Cursed Child, the theater one, they redid their whole... It's not 6 hours anymore, 2 times 3 hours. It's just 4 hours, I think, in one show. Yeah. Still too long, but it's one, and Scorbus is a thing.
That is goodness. Yeah. See, I don't actually mind. I mean, I can go either way. I don't mind.
Yeah, same. I mean, I've read a lot of... I haven't read any Scorbus fics, to be honest. I don't know why, I just haven't found them, but I read a lot of Scoros.
Have you tried Archive of Our Own?
I have, yeah.
Because my guess would be, because I know from my fanfic smut-loving friends, and I do have several, that Archive of Our Own is apparently the place to be.
It is, yeah. But I discovered fanfics 2 years ago, so I'm quite new to it. And by the time I discovered it, I discovered a site called HarryPotterFanfic.net, I think, something like that. It doesn't exist anymore because it had to shut down because no money. But they had a lot of next generation ones. Those were the ones I read. I'm very sad that it's gone. But
I just like the funny ones. I literally go in for the humor fix on fanfiction.net and just be like, humor fix, entertain me.
So
I
much.
can't help it. I love the humor things. They're just funny.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it for our Malfoy episode.
Lucy's an asshole. Narcissa is a conniving bitch.
Yeah.
Draco is redeemable, as has been proven, even if it's in The Cursed Child. Which is... Even I, as a Cursed Child fan, I am that one person, feel it is questionable quality at best.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Cursed Child is like a B horror movie.
It's the worst piece of fanfic I've ever read.
It's so bad that it's gone to the genius level.
Yeah.
It's a B horror movie. It is right up there with the Toxic Avenger. And Bloody Mallory. But especially Bloody Mallory, which is genius. That said, but we can all agree that Scorpius Malfoy is top notch, and we would like more Scorpius.
The best Malfoy. We have Scorpius, Draco, Narcissa, Lucius.
Which means that Astoria is an absolute hero.
Yeah, she's the reason why those two are on the top.
Yeah, she's a hero. She's a hero, and she does not get enough credit. I wish we knew more about the Greengrass family, because we know they're purebloods. We know that Daphne, Astoria's older sister, was in Draco's class. Yeah. In his year. So in his class, really. But we don't know anything about them. I mean, clearly they weren't... I mean, I'm assuming they weren't Death Eaters.
You're assuming they are Death Eaters?
Aren't,
yeah.
Are not.
We don't know.
I also can't remember all the names, because Voldemort unmasks his Death Eaters when he reappears in the 4th book/movie. And I remember McNair is a Death Eater. I remember Crabbe, Goyle, Lucius. But I can't remember any of the other names, but Greengrass does not sound familiar.
No, they weren't there.
So any listeners, correct us in the comments if we are completely wrong. But I think they were more like the Weasleys. Either that or Astoria
like normal wizards. Like, I don't know.
I think they're
normal family.
Yeah, because they're definitely not pureblood supremacists. Because Astoria couldn't care less and actively didn't want Scorpius to be raised as a pureblood supremacist.
Yeah.
To actively go against that, you're more like level Potter and Weasley family, I would say.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we don't ever hear anything about... I mean, we know the Longbottoms aren't Voldemort supporters at all.
Yeah.
But we never actually hear about whether they are, like, pro-pureblood. I mean, if you see Neville, there's some doubt about how many steps removed the other pureblood in his family was, but I'd like to know more about that side of the Malfoy family, so to speak.
No, but we can at least say that the Malfoys should be grateful to have Astoria.
To be sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. The Malfoys should be praising themselves that there was that. But you know what I don't understand about Cursed Child as well? Harry is head of the Auror office, right?
Yeah.
Draco literally walks in and says, like, I have this time turner. Like, major spoiler for the Cursed Child, so if you haven't actually gone near it, just be aware of that. So he has this time turner, the one that Theodore Nott has made. And why does Lucius get away with this? He doesn't even get a slap on the wrist.
That's true.
I mean, it's just like, ugh, Lucius. I mean, what's to say he doesn't do this again?
Yeah.
I mean, Lucius has clearly learned nothing. I mean, I don't say that Harry should be arresting him, but at the very least, he should give him some serious community service. I mean,
can you imagine him picking
not just take Draco's word for it that he's like, oh, I don't think he really wants Voldemort back. He just likes to have the option. I mean, like, really?
Sure.
Really? Like, what's to say he's not wanting the option again?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, what kind of head are you, incompetent twat? I mean, if I were head Auror, that would not have flown. I mean, of course, rescuing my child would be my top priority, but once a said child has been rescued, I would be like, okay, Lucius, we're gonna have words.
Yeah, he should be in Azkaban, honestly.
Yeah, or at very least doing community service, like...
Picking trash.
Yeah, no, I don't know, picking trash, but like doing something... I don't know, helping in St. Mungo's. I mean, like, doing something worthwhile.
Yeah, with
show him, like, work in the ward where Neville's parents are. Like, in the ward where he can first-hand see what badness all the dark arts have done. And if he then hasn't learned anything, send him to Azkaban.
True.
I mean, like, how is he the head Auror?
Yeah.
I don't know. Next episode, the incompetence of Harry Potter, and nobody will ever listen to us again. No, we're joking. We're joking. We're not gonna do that. We just have. We just have major issues with cursed child Harry.
Yeah, we do. Major. And incompetence in general. So not a good match.
Cursed child Harry is just...
He's the worst. He is horrible. And he doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, I'm not going to rant about Cursed Child. I've done that enough.
Insert rant about Cursed Child here.
Yeah.
For further reference, check Jennifer's Instagram. It is Adventures of Wonder. I will have it up on the screen. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think we should wrap this up before we spiral.
Probably should. How many minutes are we at?
I think the Magic 8 Ball live. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I can see that we're still recording because it says stop, but I can't actually see how many minutes we've been recording. I have no idea.
Well, more than 35, I'm pretty sure. So let's just say that we have...
Curse you, Magic 8 Ball!
Do you want to wrap this up?
Yes, we should wrap this up. We were the Wired Sisters, not the Weird Sisters, although we are pretty weird. We are a Wizarding World podcast. In case, for some reason, you hadn't gathered that one, we have opinions about the Wizarding World. We have disavowed J.K. Rowling very solidly, in case that wasn't clear. We are international because I am Belgian and Jennifer is Swedish. And for next one, we will legit have you, the listener, decide our topic in a poll. We were going to do it this time, but we got distracted by the Malfoys. It's true.
Very true. It's true.
It had to happen. You know, we had to do this.
I had to do it.
It
had to happen.
Had to happen.
But thank you so much for listening. This episode about the Malfoys. It's been my pleasure, probably yours as well, because if you're still here, you probably love the Malfoys.
Then you're the real MVP. But we will see you, or, hear you in the next one. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye.